Welcome to another episode of The Voice of Rio Grande. We are broadcasting from our campus in Rio Grande today, but we welcome you from our other campuses in Meigs County, Vinton County, and Jackson County. If you aren't familiar with the programs and the services and the majors that we have to offer for certificate, associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, and master's degrees, please visit us at rio.edu and see what we have to offer. You can also go into any of our locations and we'll get your questions answered. We have a world of opportunity here for you, and we invite you to become part of our community. Many of our viewers and our listeners are well versed in who we are at Rio, and you know a thing or two about the students we serve. If you have watched our show before, you've probably heard me speak on more than one occasion about our program for dual enrollment with high school students. It's a College Credit Plus, and it's a statewide program that allows our high school students and even students in younger grades that qualify to enroll in college courses and receive credit while they are still in high school. That kind of important work takes strong partnerships and cooperation between our colleges and universities and our K-12 school districts. And I'm pleased today to introduce my guest, an incredible leader in our region and a champion for excellence in education, Mr. Jude Meyers. And he is the superintendent of the Gallia County Local Schools. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, first, Dr. Johnston, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today and to share a little bit about our partnership that has grown over time, and to be able to talk about Gallia County Local Schools and our role in this community as well. So we really appreciate the opportunity to be here representing our district today.
Well, I know how busy you are. I know how much you have going on. I probably only know like the half of it, not even that. But we have so much to cover. Let's get started. First, you and I came to this area around the same time in 2014, right?
Absolutely. I remember meeting you at South Gallia's graduation where you were the commencement speaker.
It was wonderful to be there. It was warm that day, but it was so nice, and to see your graduates and to hear their stories, to talk to some of their families. It was a wonderful day. Thank you for having me there. You've really become such a trusted leader in this area, and I hear people talk about what you're doing all over this region. Can you tell us little bit about your life's journey, and kind of how did, people ask me this, you know, how did things align for you to come to Gallia County and be in this area? And I'm curious about what your story is on that.
It's really an interesting story. Maybe, you know, I graduated from Capital University many years ago, pursued my degree in education, and had an opportunity to start back in the schools with one of my previous teachers. So I started actually in the parochial school system, where I started on a non-tax certificate teaching a 5th grade class when I was certified high school social studies. So that was a pretty interesting experience. But moved on to the high school, spent 7 years in parochial schools, had an opportunity to move into public schools. Did so at a place called Woodmore Local Schools, where taught social studies, psychology, developed the first AP courses there in social studies. And then we also served as an LPDC chair, and then head basketball coach. That was always a passion of mine, which was coaching. Yeah. From that point, jumped from the coaching and teaching realm into the assistant principal athletic director role at a school called Genoa area. Served in that capacity for several years. After they had to do some budget cutting, they asked me to serve as an elementary actually 3-5 principal. Wow. My journey took me to Fostoria High School, a very diverse school up in Northwest Ohio, where I served as a high school principal for about 650 kids. Then on to Old Fort, which is a very small school, as a superintendent, and then from there made the jump to Gallia County Local Schools. So someone would ask, you know, how does someone from Northwest Ohio end up in Southern Ohio? The previous superintendent I worked with at Old Fort was at that time working with Race to the Top. And when I saw openings come up, my son had graduated from high school and was on to college, and I was looking for a fresh start. and had done a lot of research into the Gallia County Local Schools.
Okay.
Now, what I didn't research was where it was, but what I did research is that what they were looking for.
Yeah.
And I think it was a great match. They were seeking some leadership, some new ideas, and lo and behold, you know, I end up here in a great place, inherited just a wonderful group of administrators, a team, a board, a teaching staff. I couldn't have asked to land in a better place.
That's great. That sounds like just such an interesting path too, and I love when our guests talk about kind of the steps that they went, because it's always the case where there are these unexpected turns, and you know, we're in the business of educating students and preparing them for careers and their life's journey. And I think what we all see in our own, and we know our students will see too, is that it takes some turns and opportunities present themselves when you're there and ready to serve, and your story is full of that. That is really neat. I know that Gallia County Local Schools have just made some significant strides since you've been on board. You've had a lot of accomplishments, you've got a lot of things in progress. Can you, it's going to be hard just to pick maybe a few of those that we can walk through that you're really proud of, or things that are going on.
I think first and foremost, I'm proud of my team, and I'm proud of our staff. As you know, it's lonely sometimes at the top, and you're only as good as those people around you, and I've been surrounded with the best. It's always easy to copy ideas. It's a lot more difficult to implement ideas, and you need skilled, qualified, competent people that you can trust to be able to accomplish that. And that being said, I inherited the best, and I would put our administrative staff and our team and our teaching staff up against any place, anywhere, in any region of the state of Ohio. So I'm really proud of who I work with on a daily basis. But some of the things that we've really been able to focus on and accomplish. We're highly involved with the Citizens Promoting Recovery, as you know, in Gallia County in southeastern Ohio, and of course across our country, as you know. The drug epidemic and crime and things of that nature have really hit hard.
Right.
And of course, we have kids that come to school every morning where they may have experienced a traumatic situation at home.
Right.
And we were just with our state support team this morning, and they actually said, you guys are the leader. Everybody is looking to you.
Wonderful.
We've had all our teachers trauma trained, and you know, we're doing everything we can to be involved in the local community with not only the business but with the churches to try and be on the forefront, because we know if we can't attend to the needs of our kids, the educational part isn't going to continue, and of course those kids move right up the food chain right to you here at Rio Grande.
Yes.
So that's one thing I'm very proud of. A couple of years ago, we said we need to do something with early childhood education, so we developed a early education preschool program. We're now entering our third year with that, so we've developed that. And very proud to say it's the only 5-star all-day, every-day preschool in this part of the state. So we're very proud of our preschool program. And we have a unique partnership with Head Start as well. So it's a collaborative thing, which if you look at most, there's not a lot of collaboration between the entities, so we've been able to do that.
That's wonderful.
We've developed a digital academy we call SODA, and we've been able to recover many students for that we had lost via open enrollment or digital.
Right.
But probably one of the neatest stories is that we've partnered with our local Boys and Girls Center, which you know, we house them on your campus.
We do, yes.
And in talking with Mike Burke, who runs that program, he said they had maybe 3 or 4 graduates the last 12, 13 years. Well, last year we had 6 graduates alone.
Wonderful. Coming
out of that program, as well as all the other things we're able to do with that. And then also the other thing we were able to do is we've done a one-to-one Chromebook initiative. So all of our kids from grades 2 through 12 have their Chromebooks. 9 through 12, they actually have Chromebooks that they use on a daily basis in the high school. Our junior high, they pick them up at the beginning of the day, they turn them in at the end of the day, and then there are carts in the elementary program, and we've been discussing what we're going to do with K1 because they want something too.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, exactly, and it's amazing what those young students can do and how ready they are for that. Those are really wonderful activities and success stories that you have. I know that we have a common interest in serving students and serving as many students as we can to improve their lives and make a difference. And I understand that you've approached enrollment in some innovative ways. Even the SOTA program, the digital program, is probably one of those examples. But can you tell us about some of the things that you found to really work in terms of the enrollment piece in your district?
I remember a specific date and time. It was at a February 2015 board meeting. We were looking at our trend data and we were looking at our student enrollment, and we had lost significant students, roughly between 300 to 400 students over a 5 to 6 year pattern. And the comment I made to the board at that time was that if we continue on that trend and we don't do something different, and we're looking at another loss of 200 to 300 students in the next 5 years, the conversation is, what building are we going to close down, and are we going to make cuts and things? So we came up with some creative approaches, and one of the things that we did is we brought back dual busing. After doing some surveys and things, we had found that we had kids riding a bus one way, sometimes up to 2 hours a day.
Wow.
So you're talking kids that were on a bus sometimes up to 4 hours a day, and which is, you know, far too long to put a kid on a bus. So we went to dual busing, and with the addition of the preschool, because you didn't want to put preschool kids on a bus with a high school kid as well. And then you didn't want to pick up young kids at 5:36 in the morning. So by going to dual busing, we picked up our middle school, high school kids on the early run, dropped them off at the high school, middle school, then we would go ahead and pick up our elementary kids, so we went to dual busing. Within about a year's time, to 2 years, as we looked at data, we increased our ridership by about almost 350 students.
Wow.
And then also with the addition of our digital program, which we call our SOTA program, which was really an offshoot of our House Bill project that we did, energy savings. We got the software for free, and we were able to start recouping kids via online and digital. But we actually rebuilt our enrollment. Last year we added about 120 kids to our enrollment. So when the governor came out with the proposed cuts and said we're going to base it on enrollment, it's a good thing we did something progressive. And when the legislature, which I know is probably something we're going to talk about, decided instead of a 5-year look back to a 2-year look back, that boded well for us because we've done some progressive things. But all in all, we just tried to look at making it a little more convenient for our parents, getting kids to school on time, the technology initiatives. And as you know, in this day and age, I think the days of a kid sitting in a seat and being educated and sit there for 7 hours a day, those days are over. And you've got to look at progressive ways to educate kids outside the box than probably what a lot of us were used to when we grew up. Those
are really exciting to hear about that. And we are here with Jude Meyers. He is the superintendent of the Gallia County Local Schools. This time we're going to take a quick station break, and we'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the Voice of Rio Grande. I'm here today with the superintendent of the Gallia County Local Schools, Jude Meyers. He's not a stranger to me personally or professionally. We've had the opportunity to work together on a number of fronts, and you know, one area that we really share another focus is in our work with state and federal government leaders. And I'm very certain, without a doubt, that Rio wouldn't be moving in such positive directions without the support and the action of people like Representative Ryan Smith and Senator Bob Peterson and U.S. Senator Rob Portman and U.S. Congressman Bill Johnston and the governor's office and our contacts there. There's so much that goes on. But what has been your experience in your role with our government leaders?
They've been exceptional. And, you know, if you look at the final legislation that went out determining school funding for this year, you could see their handprint all over it, and I say that in a positive way. So I know this is kind of a public service announcement for all the gentlemen and ladies that you mentioned. But they've been tremendous, and here was one of our experience. When we started our preschool unit, we were assured that we could qualify for funding. We were in an Appalachian area with high poverty, and that was one of the criteria for determining funding. Well, as we got in, we found out that the funding, when they started this program back in the 90s, that once you were in, you were in. So you may be a suburban Columbus school that's now growing and wealthy and things. They're getting preschool funding,
right,
but you couldn't get new slots. So, and there were actually times when slots weren't being filled, and that money was going back into the budget.
Yeah.
So we advocated, and I got to give Scott West, he's our director of our preschool program, but we had meeting after meeting after contact, and Scott initiated all that, which now has resulted in, and we haven't seen the check in the bank yet, but we believe that we're going to be receiving, anywhere between $300,000 and $400,000 this year.
Wonderful.
As a pilot program in southeastern Ohio for early childhood development, and it's because of the advocacy that we've had, and at the same time, with a concern with what we've seen trending with the power plants in the state.
Right.
Because the loss of that revenue would be devastating to not only our schools, but to everybody in this county.
Exactly.
So we continue to say, let's make sure we're taking care of these things. And so we've advocated quite a bit. And I would have never thought, when I was a superintendent at Old Fort, that I'd be doing as much of this as I have. But it really does make a difference. But when you do that, you've got to present facts, and you've got to present data, and you've got to be relentless, and I think we have, and it's benefited us tremendously.
That's good, especially when you can see the fruit of that labor, and that you do have people, good people that are representing us, that hear what our issues are and really want to help make a difference. I know that, speaking of people, that we both, we share a philosophy of people make the difference. You started that in this broadcast today, and talking about your team, the people that you work with, and it's our faculty and our staff here who really make the difference. They make the Rio difference and allow us to reach students and provide the services that we do, and just really, I'm blown away really every day at what they're able to accomplish, and I sense that you're feeling the same way. How do you approach staffing, and maybe some of the things that have occurred in the past few years as you've worked on that end of things?
One of the things we did was we brought back some of the arts. We've established an arts council. We work with the French art colony in town. We have an arts gala that's really quite awesome, and another community partnership. Judge Evans serves on that group as well. But we reinstituted the arts. We made a commitment to band and choir in the art program, because we really do believe that education is a multi-dimensional experience. It's not just reading and math, and I know that's how they grade us.
Right.
But for so many kids, it may be that band, it may be that choir, it may be that team is the reason they come to school.
Right. Right.
We've also had to address the needs in our community. As I said, the community action, we've added these community liaisons that in a sense serve as caseworkers in our elementaries, working with students that are experiencing troubles and helping our elementary principals. So we've added that piece. Okay. And then we've also added some resource officers, so we work in partnership with the sheriff's and department. And I got a great story. We have an SRO officer, his name's Scott Lear, and we saw a posting on social media just about a week ago, and there was a young lady who was entering high school, transitioning from 8th to 9th grade. She had lost her father in an accident. Her father was a police officer, and the comment was made, "He's not there to hug me on my first day of school." And Deputy Lear met her at the gates of school and gave her a big hug and said, "I'm here because you're, in place of your dad." Gosh. So you get you get stories like that, and life is good, and life is emotional. Yeah. And so you think sometimes of officers, but when you think of something like that, that's far beyond the call of duty. It is. And those are the type of people you like to surround yourself with.
That's exactly right. Not to change the subject too drastically, but one of the things that I know we both work on is resources, and the scarcity sometimes of those resources, and determining how to use those, and where to put the focus so that we can really touch those impact points with our students. I'm sure that the list is long for you, but maybe you can give us a few examples of how you've kind of worked with those resources and sought out some savings and efficiencies where you could, so that you could put funds where they're needed most.
Probably the most effective project that we ran has been our House Bill project. It was a $3.2 million project. We're just wrapping that up right now, and people would say, how did you pay for that? Well, you pay for that out of the energy savings that you're going to save over the course of this time. So what we did in this House Bill project, we completely went LED lighting inside and outside. We were told we were the only second school district in Ohio to do that. And it's amazing because then I've got special ed teachers coming and saying that that's changing the way they're doing things in the classroom. They don't need overlays now, that the kids are able to see some things.
Yeah.
You know, so that in alone, we're hearing that we're getting about 30% energy savings just from the lighting project alone.
Okay.
Then you have the automation piece, which was the second piece. Our district is scattered over 490 square miles.
Wow.
And if you had a calamity day, we'd have a maintenance guy run to each building, have to reset the thermostat for what we call unoccupied mode. Now with this piece, you can actually go and set it to unoccupied mode. You can control the climate and controls and put a temperature range in.
Yeah.
So by doing that, we're saving a lot of money, and that savings then goes for paying for these improvements in the district. So it's an investment in your infrastructure, but you're using the savings from what the project is doing in order to pay for the project. And then one of the benefits of the project was we were able to do something called QZAB funding, which is a way of 0% funding if you get a matching partner. And we matched with the National Education Foundation, Dr. Catan out of Washington, D.C., and through that they have Pearson products, which are Success Maker and GradPoint, and because of that we received the software that we're using to run our digital academy. So then we've used our digital academy to produce revenue when you recoup students back into the fold. So all of that is creative ways to use some funding to be able to do some things. We did our Chromebook initiative through our Permanent Improvement Fund, which means you're not going into general fund.
Right.
And so it's just looking for creative ways to try and do things. And I'm really proud even to say at this point, we've gotten to the point where we've grown that we're talking about expansion because we've outgrown a couple of our elementaries, because right now we could add 2 additional preschools, but we don't have the space.
Wow.
So
that's exciting though, and I look forward to seeing the creative ways that you solve that, because some of those things you just said of how they work together and use one thing for another, and it kind of led to the next thing.
People have a hard concept with how you can spend money but save money.
Right.
And of course we got that in a guarantee, so that we make sure that that's going to be the case. We had our legal and everything look at that, but we're really pleased with the outcome of the project, and we were able to hit some other areas with HVAC systems and kind of boring things probably to the audience, but things that are really important if you're in that building and you want to be comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, many of our viewers know that we're in the process of creating a new strategic plan for Rio, and we only have a couple minutes left, but this strategic agenda that we're developing is in progress, and I wanted to say thank you for your service with us as you were on part of that steering committee. We had 28 members from educational leaders from around the area, and business leaders, community leaders, faculty, staff, students, members of our board, and we've moved along in that process, and your contributions were really helpful. So thank you for being there for that.
Oh, absolutely. I enjoyed the process and hopefully helped.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be exciting to see it take shape. I'm looking forward to bringing that group back together as we continue to work on it. Last thing, we only have a minute left here, but many of our viewers have heard me talk about our pending replacement levy. I'm sure you've heard about that. We'll be on the ballot November 7th, that election, and we haven't been on the ballot in 43 years. So it's not a new tax, but it's one that we do want to continue that 1 mil property tax levy, and it's been phenomenal to see the kind of support that we've received in the community as we've talked about this levy, and that it will ultimately increase the monthly rate by about $2.39, and that's one of those things that we wanted to make sure we were doing to make sure that the burden is not too high on any one group. But it gives us an opportunity to really continue those important partnerships like the College Credit Plus and other things that we do that take other resources besides what are provided to us from state sources and things like that. And we've had some great joint efforts, haven't we?
Absolutely, and I think when you work in an area where there's high unemployment, education is your ticket out. And I think we used to work in isolation, but now we work in collaboration.
We do, yeah.
And a good, strong, healthy community needs those educational pieces in place, and there's never been a greater time. So the partnership between the university and the local schools, with now the opportunity to take college classes right in the school level.
Right.
I think we need to support education because that is the strength and backbone of the community.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That could be a whole nother show for us. It gives us a chance to get together again. It's been great to have you here today. Again, we had Jude Meyers, our superintendent for the Gallia County Local Schools, and thank you so much. Look forward to having you again sometime.
Thank you. I'd love to come back.
Thank you.